Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show how to install a Minix operating system and how to use a clang compiler that uses C language, so it would be possible to create applications written in C language. So in this case I will use Minix R3.30 version, and this ISO disk allows us to create a virtualized operating system, or we can just install it on a real hardware. So it's up to us how to use such disks for installations. In this case, I'm going to use Oracle virtualization system, and I'm going to create a new computer. So I'm using a name of the file in this case, and we have to use an operating system type and a version. In this case I'm using Linux, since the Minix is a simplified Linux version, and since there is no Minix listed in this list, I'm going to select other Linux to the 2-bit system. Alright. Nextly, we have to specify amount of RAM memory we're going to use. I will use half gigabyte. It will be even more than enough. And on the next step, we have to create a virtual hard disk. So I'm going to create a new one. That's why I'm clicking on create a virtual hard disk now. And about the extension of the hard drive, there is no big difference. What is the extension? So I just prefer to use a default one, VDI. Let it be dynamically allocated, so it means it will be continuously expanding on the hard drive as the single file. And I'm choosing the maximal size of such disk equal to 16 megabytes. 16 gigabytes. I will save this disk in the same folder I'm having my ISO disk, which I use for installation. Alright, so folder is chosen, and then I just click on create. Next, I'm going to change a visual representation of the system. So I'm going to modify a screen settings. So I'm going to enlarge the visual output, just to make it possible to see text easier on our screens. And right now it's fine to run such a prepared computer. So let's click on start. And let's wait a bit until system will be loaded. Okay, so before system will be loaded, we have to install it. That's why we have to choose a Minix drive. Okay, so let's choose ISO file, which was prepared, and let's click on start. Let's take a look what is happening here. So we can stop that countdown timer, and we can select a regular Minix load. What does it mean? Well, it means that we're using installation CD, and we have to run an installation CD in entire system to run a setup. That's why we're using a regular Minix tree. Okay, so let's click enter, and let's wait a bit. So according to the written information, we have default user root. And we can, after login, we can type a setup to install a system. So let's type root, and we're in the system. So we can even use a regular Linux commands like ls, cd, and others. But in this case, we are going to install a system. That's why we write in setup according to this instruction. All right. So let's press enter. And we have this sign, and in these notes it's written about this sign. So if only we see a column and the cursor appears after that column, we have to press enter. So I'm pressing enter right now, and I'm using the standard US keyboard. For this purpose I'm pressing just enter, since US standard keyboard is the default option of keyboard. and I'm going to use an automatical mode. That's why I just press enter. Right now Minix is searching for disks which could be used for installation, so we have to wait a bit. Alright, in this case we have a hardware disk with index 0, so we can see it right here, and we see total capacity of the disk. And Minix shows the free space is on the disk is 15 gigabytes. So in this case, your index disk is a default selection disk. That's why we just press enter. Okay, so on the disk we have free space section, which is indexed with the number of 0, and we have to select a partition of the disk. That's why we're selecting 0 index partition by pressing enter, because 0 is the default choice. And definitely we have to accept configuration for installation, and afterwards we have to wait a bit, and Minix show us an advice of the size of the home folder we are going to create. In this case, around 3 gigabytes, even more than enough. That's why I'm accepting this advice by pressing enter, and if everything's fine, I'm accepting it. About the block size, mostly it's 4 kilobytes, and I'm not thinking like it will affect anything. That's why I will just leave 4 kilobytes as it was advised by the system. So it's totally fine for me, and right now we have to wait until installations end. So let's wait a little bit. Okay, so at this point we have to set up a configuration of internet. In this case we have to select Ethernet card configuration. So let's open that one, and in this case I'm going to use DHCP configuration, so that's automatical configuration. In my case it will be a bit easier to use it. That's why I'm choosing automatical configuration of the network. Okay, it looks like everything is installed, so let's try to use a basic Linux commands. Okay, it looks like we are located in our profile. Afterwards, it would be really nice after installation to reboot the system. For this purpose I'm going to take out an installation disk, and I'm going to run a reboot operation. Alright, it looks like we have another starting menu, and in this case I'm going to run a second option, start latest minix, because that latest minix was pre-installed already. That's why my choice is option 2, and I'm pressing enter. Okay, in this case we can choose the same login root, and as you see we are located in our main folder. Nextly, it would be really nice to use a clang compiler. So as we see, from the default, clang compiler is not installed. That's why our system cannot find a file of clang. We have to install this compiler. Well, how to do this? We can use packaging options. So it's something similar to apt-get in Ubuntu or Vim in Scientific Linux. So that's the package manager. So we are going to receive clang compiler, and definitely minix asks us to update the database. It will definitely take some time, but I'm going to update it and show you guys update process. So I'm pressing yes in this case, and right now we have to wait until a package manager will download a whole configuration or repository list, and right now it asks us to make an installation process. Okay, I'm accepting it, and we have to wait a bit. It will definitely take some time, but it's totally fine because in the end there will be a clang compiler and other new libraries installed in the system. So let's just wait a bit. Okay, so it looks like basic libraries were downloaded, and right now installation process is going on. So let's wait until all libraries will be installed. Okay, it looks like all libraries are installed. Let's check what do we have in our home folder. So we have same files, and let's take a look if we have a clang compiler. Okay, so right now we have a clang compiler, and it says us that there is no input file. So let's create an input file. Let's call it a.c, and let's try to open a.c file. In this case, I'm going to write the codes. Okay, it looks like right now I'm located in control symbol section. So maybe escape button will help me just to reach to the text editing option. Okay. So let's try to write codes. Okay. Alright, again I'm at control symbol section, so let's write this one. Okay, let's try to go to control symbol section. Let's rewrite the content of the file, and let's try to go out from the editor. So we have a.c file, and we are going to check if everything was saved. For this purpose, let's open file once again. Okay, so we see that everything is fine, and let's go out to the main operating system. Let's try to use an a.c file for compilation. Okay, so compiler says us that that executable doesn't exist. That's a bit strange. Right, so compiler shows that executable doesn't exist. In this case, let's try to install additional package bin utils. Let's accept our installation choice, and let's wait a bit until the installation pack will be downloaded and installed. Alright, let's try to run the same installation, the same compilation code we used previously. Okay, right now everything is fine, so compilation happened, and let's take a look what do we have in our folder. Okay, we have a.out, so that's the executable file. So I'm going to run it, and I have ABC text on my screen. So guys, that's the way how we can install Minix system and how we can use a clang compiler. So thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time.